University of Arizona Global Campus. We're just going to wait a couple of minutes here to get underway so everybody can log in. Thank you for being here. Thank you for attending UAGC. I'll be underway in just a few seconds here. All right, everybody, thank you for being here. Hello, and welcome to today's information session with the Social Security Administration, Office of the Chief Information Officer. My name is Warner Petzold. I'm an employer outreach specialist at the University of Arizona Global Campus. We're excited you could join us today to learn about the exciting career opportunities with the Social Security Administration, Office of the Chief Information Officer. Before I turn the floor over, I want to go over a few housekeeping items. First of all, this webinar is being recorded. For all those who registered for today's information session, the recording will be emailed to you in a few days. We will take time to answer as many questions as possible during and at the end of the presentation. At the bottom of the screen is a Q&A button. You can submit questions with your name or anonymously to be answered live. We will do our best to get to as many questions as we can. However, if your question is not answered by the end of the presentation, you can email it to careerservices@uagc.edu. We will follow up with the Social Security Administration, Office of the Chief Information Officer, to get any remaining questions answered. Also, feel free to engage in the chat. You can pose questions in the chat, and members of the Career Services team here at UAGC will be available to help answer questions throughout the presentation. If you have any technical difficulties, we recommend logging out of Zoom and logging back in. Now, I would like to introduce our guest employer. Joining us today is Cherise Davis. She has been employed with the Social Security Administration for 21 years and held previous positions, including a benefit authorizer where her job entailed processing disability benefit applications and payment updates for Title II beneficiaries. After successfully working in that capacity for 6 years, she transitioned to an IT specialist role in the Office of the Chief Information Officer. There, she worked for 13 years as a software applications tester for the Social Security Administration's internal and public-facing web and mainframe applications. Cherise currently works in the IT Workforce Development Branch, where they oversee training, developmental programs, recruitment, and onboarding for all IT specialists in the Office of the Chief Information Officer. Cherise, we are excited to hear your presentation, and thank you for joining us today. I will go ahead and turn the floor over to you.
Thank you so much, Warner. Can you just confirm that you can hear me okay?
Absolutely. We can hear you.
Thank you.
You're
Once
welcome.
again, I just want to say thank you to you and to Rebecca for having me today. I am excited to talk about the important work that our agency does, as well as our IT specialists who are at the backbone of keeping our operations up and running on a 24/7 schedule. So thanks to everyone for taking the time out to come and listen to our presentation and to hear about some possible employment opportunities here in the Office of the CIO. So today, I will give a general agency overview, talk about the important work that our IT specialists do specifically in the Office of the CIO, some information on why I work for SSA, specifically why I work for SSA, started out of college and have been here ever since, some of the benefits of working for the agency. I'll talk about some of our open positions, the application process, and if you have any questions at the end, feel free and we can take them at that time. And in the meantime, you can put any questions in the chat as well. So what is Social Security? Social Security has been providing financial protection for U.S. citizens for over 80 years. We provide retirement income, disability, survivors benefits, and it's one of the most successful anti-poverty programs in our nation's history. So when we say we're with you through life's journey, from the moment a person is born in the US and they receive a social security number, we safeguard and house all of that information. Our cybersecurity team is a 24/7 shop because we're safeguarding all of the nation's PII. From the moment you're born to the moment you start working, all of those earnings are reported to the Social Security Administration. So our databases house all of your pertinent PII to the moment that you're finished working and you get to retire. We pay out those retirement benefits that you have paid into all of that time. If the unfortunate happens, you will receive disability benefits and also survivor's benefits in the event of a loss. So with all of those different programs that the Social Security Administration provides, I know we're on a webinar, but just think about how many people do you think receive benefits from the Social Security Administration?
Sharice, if I can interrupt for just a second, you are in presenter view with your slide presentation. So just letting you know, we can see the next slide and the.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you see the answer.
Yeah, we can see your slide, but you want to probably go with the expanded view there for your presentation, because we saw the presenter view, just letting you know.
Okay, no problem. Thank you for letting me know.
Yeah, no worries. I think slideshow current.
Mm-hmm.
There you
Okay,
go.
how about
Awesome.
now? Can you see it okay?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Just letting you know.
So we have over 70 million people that are currently receiving services from our Social Security Administration. So let me go back a little bit. I apologize for that. And prior to that, you only had the option to come in to the office to file for benefits, but over the years, we are constantly expanding our online services where you can apply online. And we also have our 800 teleservice center number. So you don't have to take the time to come into the office. You can apply for your retirement benefits, your disability benefits, and your Medicare benefits. You can change your benefits. You can apply for SSI all online. You can check the status of your application, if you need to change your address, if you need a replacement social security number, if you need a benefit letter, a verification letter for an employer. All of those services are available online. And our IT specialists in the office of the CIO are at the backbone of making sure that those operations are currently up and running quickly, safely, and efficiently. So within the office of the CIO, we have over 3,200 employees. And within those 3,200 employees, we have from the highly technical roles, job opportunities, which I'll talk to you about a little later in the presentation, to the non-technical roles. We have one of the most sophisticated and advanced database networks and telecommunication networks. And so our networks span over 60,000 employees who are employed by the Social Security Administration. So where I work in the office of the CIO, we support all of those employees. And because we operate one of the largest computer installations in the world, we are slowly but surely continuing to make those necessary investments in our employees to modernize our IT infrastructure and what we're doing today to recruit and develop some of the best IT staff in government. So what do our IT specialists do? Here's a list. This is a broad range of just some of the roles that we have These are some of the highly technical positions, so I'll give a brief overview. And then I'll also talk about some of our IT specialist roles that are not very technical, but they're still IT related. So first, we have our software developers. So our developers, they analyze our systems, they write requirements, they write our code for our front end web applications. Some of the skills that are needed for those developers, we use HTML, XML, Python, Cucumber, Eclipse, Selenium, Java, JavaScript, R, SQL, and C#. As well as some of our developers, they design those user interfaces and make sure that our system software is functioning consistently and with quality. Next is cybersecurity, which is very important. And those cybersecurity practitioners, they work to ensure the system's reliability, systems accessibility, preventing and defending against those who are unauthorized to use our networks and our systems. For example, even externally and internally, if an employee should not be authorized to see a certain screen, just to make sure that their permissions are in place and that everyone's information for the public is properly safeguarded. Next, we have our systems administrators. So those are the ones that they plan, they schedule, and they install modified hardware and software. When we get those updates on our laptops, our systems administrators make sure they're all up and running. And they, like I said, they manage the installation of those system patches and those enhancements. Let's see, network operators. So our network operators, they deliver support services such as they identify and resolve problems to customer-related incidences, problems with installing new patches, troubleshooting, and just maintaining our hardware and software of your physical devices, such as our laptops that we take home, tablets, and our cell phones that are government issued. That's what our network services do. Let's see. Okay, systems analyst. So systems analyst is really important. That's a big one for OCIO because those are the ones that validate the code. They define requirements. So if Congress passes a law, I don't just as an example to change the age for a requirement for a certain benefit, that those requirements need to be changed throughout SSA system. So we work directly with policy to make sure that when that claims rep on the front end is taking those claims, that all the changes and all the laws and regulations that Congress passed down are properly implemented within the code that the claims rep or the customer service rep or the benefit authorizer that's putting in that Title II or Title 16 claim, that all of those codes are up to date and recent. DBAs, our database administrators. So they are the ones that define our data requirements. They manage our databases and our data warehousing. Our help desk support, those are the ones that we call when we have incident reports, problems, again, with installing and maintaining any software. I'm going to leave IT project manager for last. Systems, application, and testing. So our testers are the ones that they validate our software, they do that user acceptance testing. Let's see, they run automated tests. When I was talking about Selenium and Cucumber, those are some of the tools that they use for automated testing, and they coordinate that user testing and validation. User experience, UX and UI, that is one of the largest teams in OCIO. So they focus on user needs with external websites. They evaluate the interfaces used by the public and they make those designs and those changes according to those laws and regulations for the end user. Okay, so IT and project management, that in itself is one of those non-technical IT positions that I was talking about earlier. So within the office of the OCIO, say you want to work in IT, but you might not have extensive coding and DBA experience, but you want to kind of dip your toe in information technology. So you may want to become a Scrum Master. That's one of the non-technical IT roles that we have. Within the OCIO, we also have our IT budget staff that controls all of the peripherals, the things that our recruitment team does, making sure the costs are within the different projections for that fiscal year. So we have a whole IT budget staff that handles that. They conduct audits of our programs and our projects. Also, some of the non-technical roles that we have is IT training. Our employees, which I'll get into a little bit later, we have on-the-job training, we have classroom training, formal classroom training. So we have a whole training staff that is devoted to training of our internal employees, especially our new hires. And then also one of the non-technical roles that we have is talent acquisitions, and we have employee development analysts. So that's the team that I'm on, where we do recruitment, we do onboarding, and we oversee the developmental programs for not just the agency, but for our IT specialists in OCIO. And once again, I'll talk about that a little later. So discover all the benefits Social Security has to offer you. We have competitive IT salaries commensurate with your experience and or education, and all of that you will find on, I'm not sure if everyone is familiar with usajobs.gov, but that is where we post all of our open positions. We offer career development and training, flexible work schedules. I'll go back and talk a little bit about career development and training. When Warner gave my introduction, I started my career fresh out of college, not really sure what I wanted to do. I started as a benefit authorizer, where I was processing claims for disability recipients, making sure that the right person was paid the right amount and in a timely manner. So that was my role. I did that for about 6 years until I mastered it. I became one of the leads. And then I wanted to do something different. And when I go back to career development programs, Social Security has so many different opportunities where you could take one skill and transfer it to another skill. So as me being a benefit authorizer, I wanted to do something in IT, but I didn't know how to get my foot in the door. So a position became available that was a journeyman position, where you start off at the same grade, but over the course of 3 years, you get an increase in grade each year. So they had a position in OCIO for an automated tester. Now, who better to test an application for disability than someone who knows the back end, the systems, and the processes, and I know what the end user should see and how the processes should work. So I was able to go through the interview process, and through that training and that ongoing training, that classroom training, I was able to learn testing, the Selenium, Cucumber, test automations, through months and months of training that the agency invested in me. That's how I was able to successfully do that. I did that for a total of 13 years, became a team leader. I managed a team of about 5 employees. After that time, I decided I want to do something else. Went back to school, got a master's degree in HR. So I'm thinking, how can I combine my IT experience with this HR degree? So we have what's called detail opportunities, where you see something that you may want to do, and once again, you have those transferable skills that may not, that can work in another component, but you don't have that exact experience that they're looking for, but you have the willingness, you have the drive, and you know that this is something that you're really interested in. So I applied for a detail, and with the detail, like I said, you don't have to have that experience, but you get that on the job training. So apply for a position on the talent management team, specifically for IT specialists. So now what I do is all of the onboarding and recruitment is one of my major job functions in my position. just doing all the recruitment for our entry level and experienced IT specialists within OCIO. We have flexible work schedules. We do telework 2 days a week. The majority of our employees, we are on site 2 days a week. When I say on site, our headquarters is in Maryland, right outside of Baltimore, a little town, Woodlawn, Maryland, maybe 10 minutes from Baltimore. So we work at home 3 days, in the office for 2 days. We do have other locations that our employees within OCIO work from, and that is the Raleigh-Durham, the Durham, North Carolina area, as well as Denver, Colorado. When I say flexible work schedules, you can start your day at Social Security as early as 5:30 or as late as 10 a.m. So 5:30 a.m. to 10 a.m., regardless of your time, as long as you're within that window, that's when you can start your day. We have excellent vacation and sick leave. When you get 13 paid vacation days, a year within your first year, 20 days after 3 years, and 26 days after 15 years, and you earn 13 paid sick days each year. We get 11 paid federal holidays. And we have excellent health benefits and also retirement benefits. So that's just my personal story and one of the reasons why I'm still here, because the agency does invest highly in their employees. So let's talk about how to apply. All of our open positions are on usajobs.gov. When you go to USA Jobs, you can put Social Security Administration in your title, and you can put in the city or state where you would like to work. Now, within OCIO, the majority of our positions are within the Maryland, North Carolina, and some in Denver, Colorado. But if you're not looking for an IT position, we have customer service representatives, as well as data centers, as well as payment centers throughout the country. So you can kind of just put in your location and see what positions we have available. I will also say that those positions, they change from week to week. So it depends. I'll talk a little bit later about how you set up those alerts and notifications so you can find out when those new positions become available. All right, so if you don't have a account on USA Jobs, you can go ahead and fill out your information step by step. It'll walk you right through on how to create an account. But you will need it because you'll apply directly online. And this is just a screenshot of what I said earlier, how to apply. So this is really cool. On USA Jobs, they have something called Save a Search. And what'll happen is you set up your criteria. If you want to keep it very high level, just as Social Security Administration, full-time, open to the public, they'll send you jobs whenever something comes up that matches your criteria. If you only want to see IT jobs, you can put that, and they'll only send you those. You can have it come weekly, you can have it come daily. Personally, I would suggest having those sent to you on a daily cadence, because I don't know if some of you are familiar, but if you have applied for federal jobs before, it may open on a Monday and close on a Friday, or after they reach the first 200 applications, it'll close. So you just have to make sure that if you get it on a daily cadence, you're within that first 200 folks to apply. These are some of our basic qualifications. I will say, I would highly encourage everyone, it depends on the job that you're applying for. Not every job requires a degree. Some jobs require experience, but this is just a basic overview for a GS5, a bachelor's degree, 7, a bachelor's degree, I'm sorry, you can have a bachelor's degree and a 3.0 GPA or a master's degree. And like I said, take a look at that specific job announcement and it'll tell you the qualifications for that job. Okay, and if everyone has their phone, this is our email address. If you have any questions, you can email us directly here at ssa.ocio.recruitment@ssa.gov. Here is where you can see all of our current opportunities that we have open, our social media. And then if you scan this QR code, that will take you to an MS form. We'll collect some information about you, and then it'll send you to this email address where you can also send us a copy of your resume. What's so cool about this QR code is that if you're ready to apply for a job within OCIO, you'll be added to our candidate portal. And what that is, managers and hiring officials, when they need a DBA with SQL experience, someone with a database background, they'll go to that portal and they're able to pick some candidates to hire and to interview rather based on what's in that portal. Also, another positive thing about adding and completing this form, you'll be added to our email distribution list where we will send you information, and my team, we do it weekly whenever new positions open up. I will say the new positions will be within OCIO. So there'll be technical opportunities only that we send, but if you set up those alerts and notifications through USA Jobs, you'll have an opportunity to get all of the positions emailed to you that SSA has available. I know I gave a lot of information, so I'm gonna stop here. Do we have any questions, Warner?
Absolutely. And thank you so much for that informative session. That was really great. And with some of the students I noticed, we're not the only ones here from Maryland. I'm actually here in San Diego, but I'm born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland for 25 years. So Baltimore and Maryland in the house. For those of you that are here, that's really great. And yeah, we have several questions here that they were asking, and a lot of really great stuff. So the first one is, and thank you so much for that, for Cherise, about sharing your experience about starting out in that job and then using your experience and then transferring into the IT department and all those things that you do and all those. That was a wonderful story, and it shows them that it is possible to go into something and then pursue your degree and use your degree in the area that you want. So that's just a wonderful story. Thank you so much for that. So first one I see here is what are some of the qualities or experiences you look for in applicants that make them stand out in the hiring process?
So, okay, I guess the straightforward answer is when you see a job with, honestly, not just SSA, but a federal job that you're really interested in, take a look at the qualifications for that job. So case in point, if it's a customer service position, that's where you want to look at those qualifications, and it may say interpersonal communication skills, verbal and written communication skills. So if you see that on that job description, you need to put an example of that on your resume. So you need to show the hiring official, this is what we look for. We want to make sure that you specifically taking a look at those requirements on that particular job announcement and how you've shown an example of how you've applied those skills on your resume. So it varies from position to position, but you always have to, I always tell people, it's no one size fit all resume with the federal government. You have to update it every time to align with those qualifications.
Absolutely. And we hear that time and time again from recruiters when they come and they speak at these information sessions. So that's very consistent, and we appreciate that. The other thing too is, for somebody who was in the chat room, they were asking this. I know that you provided that wonderful example that you had when you started out in that job and then you went into IT. But for those who want to, like, what suggestions might you have, Cherise, for those who are trying to get into the IT field and maybe they just don't have the experience that, starting out, maybe this is their first time that they're getting into IT. Is there anything that you could recommend other than the wonderful example that you gave, which is a great example, but for those who might want to potentially get into some type of entry-level IT role, or maybe something that they have to do before they apply to get that experience to go to
experience can be volunteer.
Mhm.
If you look at the job applications and requirements on USA Jobs, it does not necessarily have to be a position that you're getting paid for. You can be
Mm.
volunteering your time to work part-time to handle or create a website on the side for a small organization. You can add that experience. Another thing I would suggest is certifications.
Mm.
You might not have a degree in IT, but you
Sure.
may want to go back to school and get a CompTIA or a Security Plus
Mm.
certification. Any type of if you don't have that volunteer opportunity, you may want to look into some internship opportunities just to get some type of experience under your belt, to get your toe wet and to see if in fact is this something that I'm interested in doing.
That's great advice. Excellent advice. Another question here. This person said, I currently reside 1 hour from the RDU area, and
Mhm,
any 2210 series
mhm.
jobs in the North
Yeah.
Carolina area, question mark, and I'm currently working in the IT field.
So RDU, yes, for that person, it's in Durham, and I
Okay,
believe the area is called Triangle Park, if you're familiar with that in Durham.
I
Um,
am. Mhm.
okay,
Yep.
you have to live within a 2 hour commute
Mm.
of your permanent duty station. So if you're within 1 hour, then yes, that's perfectly fine.
Okay. And then another person here asked, Fong, she asked, this person asked, how is the structure of your test team? And is there a QA manager who manages the team, or a QA, QE engineers report directly to the development team manager?
Yeah, so with our testing, we follow the software development life cycle. So we have validation, user acceptance, integration testing. So what'll happen is each team has a team lead. And so that team lead and that senior level tester, they work hand in hand with the developers.
Mm.
So whoever is the lead developer for that
Yep.
project, if they are doing capacity testing, load testing,
Okay.
and what'll happen is if they are simulating a test with 3,000 users and the system crashes. So they'll have to work with that developer to increase the bandwidth or whatever they have to do. So that's what happens. Our testers work hand in hand with the developers. We have a lot of troubleshooting calls, and there's a lot of testing done. Testing for us is the last step before production. So
Got it.
once it's in validation, it goes to integration testing. And from integration testing, that final stage, and then it goes to production. So once that integration test passed, it's been through extensive testing. And then that's when it goes to production. But yeah, we work hand in hand with the developers for that.
Excellent. Thank you for answering that. I got this person who, it's kind of in lines with what we mentioned earlier. I know you mentioned the experience and all those things, and then also applying to the job correctly in the role and making sure you meet those items that are in the role and being specific towards that when you do target your resume. But this person asked, I have hands-on experience and degrees and constantly am being told that they're not qualified. So what
Mhm.
actually do HR assess to determine a person's qualifications? I know that's kind
Yeah.
of broad, but
So it would have to be okay. I'll give you two things. Number one, on each job announcement, there's a contact
mm,
email address at the bottom of that announcement. I
okay.
would reach out to that email contact person and see if they can provide you with some feedback on why you did not make the BQ list. The other thing that I would suggest, take a look at the experience. Make sure that you are not using the same resume. Make sure that you are updating it for each job. And if you see certain, say you've created a website and you coded it in Java, but you didn't put that on your resume. But that's what that particular job is calling for. That's why I said you can't have just one resume.
Understood.
Within USA Jobs, I think it holds at least 5 or 6 different resumes
Yeah,
that you
something like
have.
that. Yeah.
So it is so imperative that you go in with a magnifying glass and take a look at those keywords and make sure that you speak to those on your resume.
That's great advice. Another question here. And this kind of goes along the lines of, I know you're here representing Office of the Chief Information Officer. And I know we mentioned those three areas that, you have your buildings and locations in the United States. But we're also considering all of our students that are all across the United States as well as overseas, but primarily here in the United States. So knowing that I know that there's Social Security departments in pretty much in every state, right, that run Social Security and all that. One of the things they'll always look at is whether or not that there's remote positions. So this person's asking, can you work remotely from any state? And what if you have a degree in a certain position, but no experience in that field? Can you still be hired? Well, we kind of touched on that, but how about as far as working remotely, and then also maybe talking about, if Sharice, I'm not exactly sure, with those other locations, like the one that we have in Arizona and Tucson, one of the main buildings and things like that. How can you apply to jobs and then maybe also be involved with IT potentially?
Okay, so that's a good question. So we don't, I will start by saying we don't offer remote work. We offer hybrid. So we do not have fully remote jobs. You have to be within a 2-hour commute of your permanent duty station. We do have positions in payment centers across the country. The vast majority of our IT specialists work in one of those 3 locations, either Maryland, North Carolina, or Denver. But what I can do, Warner, I'll drop a link in the chat.
Okay.
Or it's a link to all of the positions that SSA currently has available.
Okay. Is this through USA Jobs, or is this the one on the website for you specifically?
It's through USA Jobs.
Understood.
Okay.
I appreciate that. And we got a technical
And so
one.
that's when I sent that link, that's where the save a search will come in. So you'll want to save that search to receive notifications on a daily basis directly to your email whenever new positions open up. So you can take a look out there now, and you can see we have positions across the country. They might not be IT positions, but I looked before this meeting and I saw several direct hire positions across the country for, I believe it's customer service representative positions.
That actually brings up a really good point, Sharice. What if, being you brought this up earlier, granted, in your position, I would assume you were in Baltimore and DC when you were working that other job, and then you transferred into the IT department there, or was that at a different location?
Same location.
Okay, great. So then the question would be, because we're talking about it, is what if you were to start out working at let's say you were working at SSA in your home state, I don't know, Arizona, Washington State, wherever it may be, and then you do the jobs of whatever it is for several years, and now all of a sudden you do want to apply your degree, your IT degree in, let's say, Woodlawn, and to apply to a job in Woodlawn, would they consider you maybe more because you're internal in another state working for the Social Security Administration?
Is that person willing to relocate?
I'm assuming that. No, I'm making that assumption.
It would still be based off of their qualifications.
Understood.
If someone else came in with more experience directly related to that position,
that's a great
it
point.
will be based off of their qualifications.
Got it. Good. Well, I'm glad that. So then,
and there are 2 ways to apply. It's you can apply internally for internal like transfers and lateral positions, or someone that doesn't work for the government can apply externally.
Understood. This one's kind of a technical question, so we'll give it a shot. It says, also you mentioned Selenium for UI automation. Is Python or JavaScript or C+ the main language that is used with the Selenium framework?
Python, JavaScript, yes, they are. Yeah, and so we have an entire component. It's our enterprise architect group, and those are the employees within OCIO who set those standards and what coding language the testing and building our software developers use, what's obsolete, like cold fusion or something like, no, we don't code in that anymore, you know,
Sure.
so, or migrating from the green screens mainframe to more Java, HTML, JavaScript. So we do have certain projects and certain applications that still use some of those older coding methods and
Sure.
languages. But we're slowly but surely transferring into modernizing
Sure. Of
our
course.
efforts.
Yeah. This one's a really good one for the military side of the house, being on 10 years Air Force. And I see this gentleman's, Francisco's ex-Army medic retiree, and he has a degree in psychology, but he also has been working in IT for 5 years. What do
Uh,
you recommend for people like that who might
yeah,
have work or are working in IT, but yet their degree is in his case, psychology?
yeah. So when you look at a job qualifications,
Sure.
it'll be two things. Like right now, I'll give you an example. We have a GS 13 IT specialist. At
Yeah,
that level, education is not a requirement at all.
I see.
It's your experience.
Right.
So in like when I can probably go back to the other screen. If you may have a bachelor's degree, you can have a bachelor's degree in psychology, but if you have that experience, so
Hmm.
it'll say a degree or equivalent experience.
Got it.
So you may have to have 2 years or 3 years. So look at that job description and it'll tell you. Like I said, my background was I had an undergrad in sociology and a master's in social work. I'm sorry, in human resources. So I don't have that, but I had that training and I had that experience.
Sure.
So you don't necessarily have to have an IT degree, but by him having that experience, that'll make him qualified.
So I'd like to kind of end with that one, if you don't mind, because you mentioned your background and how you got to where you are today. And you obviously have shown us that there's all these amazing possibilities when you get into SSA and all these things that you can do in your future. In your opinion, Charisse, what was it that made you get your job at the SSA when you applied? Even if it was an entry, the level or the role that you had, what do you think that they really considered when you applied so that our students and graduates can look at that and say, hey, she did this and
Mhm.
she got hired. I can do that, you know?
Yeah, so I kind of took what as a benefit authorizer, you need strong communication skills, strong analytical skills, critical thinking skills. Um, what I did was, and because I was out of college, I didn't
Mhm.
have a lot of work experience. I
Sure.
had internships,
Yeah.
but
I
not
get
a
it.
lot of work experience. So I started at a lower grade, but I took examples and experience from projects that I'd done in school. So if
Mm.
I'd worked on group assignments and I led a project, I showed my time management skills.
Oh,
I
yeah.
showed my effective communication skills. I showed how I set up meetings and organized meetings, and I prioritized what needs to be done, who needs to do it, by what time. And all those skills were transferable into that current job.
Yeah.
So I would say, even if you don't have the specific hands-on, take a look
Sure.
at those group projects and kind of reminisce on your role. Volunteer to be the lead, even if you are a lead of a soccer team. Like all of the planning, the prioritizing, the organizing, those are transferable skills that you can use into an entry-level government role.
Great advice and absolutely appreciate it. I'm sure many of the students and alumni out there, they all have their different lives. They're all busy and they're all working and getting their degrees, but that's just some fantastic advice. And it's definitely something that they wanted to hear. So we absolutely appreciate you sharing that with us. So it looks like
Absolutely.
we're at 12:43 right now. Looks like we're at the time pretty much. Appreciate you being here, of course. And I just wanted to let everybody know who's listening here and attending. If you want to connect with the Social Security Administration, Office of the Chief Information Officer, and other organizations that are actively hiring for full-time positions and internships, please log into Handshake through your student portal. We recommend checking Handshake, UAGC Connect, and your email regularly for more career services events, and we do have plenty of them coming up throughout the year. You will receive a follow-up email, just a reminder, with a link to this recording and information about careers at the Social Security Administration Office of the Chief Information Officer. If you have any questions for career services team on your resume, cover letter, or job search, please email career services. That's all, both words put together. There's no dot or space or anything in between. So career services at uagc.edu, or log into Handshake through your student portal to explore more resources. Many thanks again to Charisse at the Social Security Administration Office of the Chief Information Officer for joining us today. And many thanks to you, our students and graduates, for attending UAGC. Please take 1 minute to hang on at the close of this information session. You will be directed to complete a quick confidential survey. Your responses will guide us in planning future employer information sessions, career fairs, and events. If you're unable to complete it now, that's fine. The survey will be emailed to you with a copy of the recording. Thank you for attending this event today, and we look forward to seeing you at more career services hosted events. Everybody have a wonderful day. Thanks, Charisse.
Thank you. Bye-bye.